The explosion shattered the dawn. Riker Vance flinched, coffee halfway to his lips, as every window in the ancient stone house sang with stress. He stood barefoot on the veranda of Vance Hold estate, the mountain air crisp around him, watching smoke curl into the sky from what used to be his southern garden. His sigh tasted like old regret. Inside, the walls groaned as Benson, his domestic assistant, former combat unit, and current wise ass, shouted from somewhere near the kitchens. "Sir, you may want to bring your sword. Something just annihilated the hibiscus patch." Riker was already moving. By the time he reached the crater, steam hissed off molten rock. The object embedded in the earth was cylindrical, alien, humming like it had swallowed a power line. Violet symbols pulsed across its hull. Riker recognized the script. Vexery. Which meant only one person could have sent it. Raylin. He hadn't heard from the Vexery scout in months, not since that last encrypted message. "If I vanish, protect her. You'll know her when you see her." A seam split across the capsule with a pressurized hiss. Riker's hand dropped to the hilt at his hip, mercury-forged steel humming with memory. No teeth. No tentacles. No combat droid. Just her. She stepped out of the pod like it wasn't her first time surviving a planetary drop. Her fur shimmered a muted lilac under the morning sun. Armor clung to her curves with an elegance that said, "Custom made by someone with intentions." Her eyes, though, eyes the color of dying stars, held the kind of tired defiance Riker had only ever seen in war survivors and rebels. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice was soft, but carried steel. "Earth," Riker said. "Vance Hold. And my hibiscus bush." She glanced behind her, at the smoking ruin of soil and crushed flora. "Sorry about that." The woman stepped forward with the quiet poise of someone used to being watched, hunted, feared. She extended a hand, not in peace but as a measure. Testing him. Riker didn't take it. Instead, he gave her a nod and took a careful step back. "I'm Lyra," she said. Her tone was even, neutral. "Trained. Riker Vance. This land is mine," he replied. "Though you just added a crater to the property." Behind them, the old oak windbreak rustled, and Benson emerged from the mist like a ghost in a bow tie, holding a tray with 2 mugs of tea, unfazed as ever. "Sir," he drawled, his synthetic voice tinged with a polite southern lilt. "Would you prefer I incinerate the pod? It's rather an eyesore." Lyra blinked at him. "You're not human. Neither are most of our guests these days," Benson said with a smile. "But I do brew a mean chamomile." She took a mug without hesitation. That alone told Riker volumes. Either she was confident it wasn't poisoned, or she simply didn't care. "You're early," Riker said, sipping his own tea. "Raylan said you might arrive with complications." Her ears twitched. "Raylan's dead." Riker froze. "He didn't make it off Icaron 6, she continued. "He gave up his location to save me. Said I'd find sanctuary here. That you'd understand what it means to be built." Riker looked her over again, the lithe grace, the controlled breath, the way her eyes catalogued every exit, every blind spot. He'd seen engineered operatives before. Weapons made to walk like people. "I'm not a weapon," she added, sensing his thoughts. "Everyone says that right before they kill someone." She smiled. "Not wrong." Benson cleared his throat. "Begging your pardon, ma'am, but if you plan to break any furniture or kill the master, kindly do so after lunch. I just polished the floors." Lyra sipped her tea and raised a brow. "Is he always like this?" "Only on Mondays," Riker muttered. "Come inside." As they walked toward the manor, Riker couldn't shake the feeling crawling down his spine. She wasn't here by accident. And whatever Raylan had sent, it wasn't just a guest. It was a message. And a warning. The manor loomed ahead, a relic of a forgotten world. High stone walls covered in creeping ivy, gargoyles chipped from centuries of watching skies that used to burn. Riker unlocked the front door with a biometric press, and the heavy oak groaned as if waking from an old dream. Inside, the house whispered with memories. Lyra moved like a shadow, her violet tail brushing low over the tile as she stepped across the threshold. Her ears twitched at the creak of old wood, the hum of climate systems tucked behind antique fixtures. "This isn't a home," she murmured, eyes scanning the vaulted ceilings. "It's a fortress wearing a tuxedo." "It's both," Riker replied. "My ancestors believed diplomacy and gunpowder should come from the same place." Benson reappeared near the stairwell, already in a fresh vest, holding a linen bundle. "Blue room's ready," he said. "Fresh linens, non-lethal toiletries, and I've relocated the porcelain from reach. Just in case." Lyra's eyebrow lifted. "Do all your guests get this kind of prep?" "Only the ones who fall from orbit and might be bioengineered assassins," Riker said dryly. She followed him up the stairs, tail flicking behind her. As they reached the second floor, she paused at the edge of the long hallway, looking down a line of portraits. Vances passed, every one a mix of grit and defiance. Soldiers, negotiators, scientists, liars. "This house smells like secrets," she said. "Old ones?" Riker didn't reply. Instead, he opened the door to the blue guest room, modest, high-ceilinged, sunbeams spilling across a made bed and hand-carved desk. Lyra stepped inside, running her fingers along the edge of the dresser. "No cameras?" "There are none inside this house," Riker said. "Not since the burn." She turned. "The burn, that was caused by your people, wasn't it?" Riker's jaw tightened. "My people didn't start the fire. They just struck the match last." Lyra set the teacup down and faced him fully. "Raylan said you knew what it meant to be designed. Controlled. Hunted. That's why I'm here." Riker looked at her, really looked. The careful poise, the way she stood without ever showing her full profile. She was built for survival, for infiltration, maybe even seduction. But under that, there was weariness. And grief. "I'm not here to protect you, Lyra," he said softly. "I'm here to decide if you're worth protecting." "And what's your verdict?" He hesitated. "I haven't made it yet." Rain began just after sunset, not a gentle mist, but a hard, hammering storm that turned the mountain sky into liquid obsidian. Riker sat in the library, sword unsheathed across his lap, oiling the mercury-forged blade as thunder cracked beyond the stained glass windows. The fireplace crackled. Benson moved soundlessly behind him, arranging books that hadn't been touched since Riker's father died. "She's not like the others," Riker muttered. "I noticed, sir," Benson replied. "She hasn't tried to kill you. A rare trait in your house guests." Riker didn't laugh. "There's something else. She's hiding something bigger than just a backstory. Engineered beings often do." "Yeah, but this feels intentional. Like she was built to find me." Benson placed a leather-bound journal on the desk. "Then the only real question, sir, is whether she knows it yet." Riker stood, sheathing the sword. "Where is she?" "Ruth said she wanted to watch the storm." He found her standing barefoot on the slate tiles, soaked to the skin. The rain matted her purple fur to her frame, her ears twitching with every distant boom. She didn't turn as he approached. "I thought you didn't like being watched," Riker said. "I don't," Lyra replied. "But the sky doesn't care what I am." He stepped beside her. "You were made for something, weren't you?" She was silent. "Tell me." "I was built to be loved," she said finally. "That's how I kill. Not with claws or blades. With presence. Intimacy. My kind were designed to infiltrate command structures, seduce leaders, and break them from within." Riker didn't flinch. "You think that'll work on me?" "I don't know. That's what scares me." He watched her face, her wet lashes, her trembling jaw. She looked nothing like a weapon. But neither did the seal hidden beneath his family's estate, the one every government in the galaxy would burn a planet to possess. "And Raylan?" he asked. "He was immune. Somehow. Maybe he loved me first. Maybe that's the only way to break the compulsion." She turned to him. "He died because he believed you were the only one who could stop what's coming." What is coming? Everything, she whispered. And I need you to choose whether I'm your ally or your warning. The rain softened, but Riker's heart pounded harder. Below, lightning lit the hills. And in the distance, the shimmer of something mechanical watching from the tree-line. They weren't alone anymore. The shimmer in the trees resolved into a drone, not one of Earth's, not even consortium legal. Vexury tech, sleek and quiet, hovering inches off the ground. Its optic lens blinked crimson once, then vanished behind the storm haze. Recon drone, Riker muttered, stepping back from the ledge. Lyra's pupils narrowed. They've found me. No, Riker said. They've found us. By the time they reached the front entry hall, Benson was already waiting, umbrella folded, trench coat dusted off, shotgun gleaming like a choir boy's conscience. They're at the gate, he said calmly. Who? Riker asked. Benson's head tilted toward the exterior monitors. 3 figures, untagged biosignatures, carrying Imperial neural disruptors. No official markings. Mercenaries. Lyra's claws flexed instinctively. Safarin? Riker looked at her. Yours? No. Worse. Hired from Outsystem. It means they're not planning to talk. Thunder rolled overhead as the estate's perimeter lights flared. The gate camera flickered to life, showing 3 figures clad in armored skin suits, their helmets featureless save for thin slits of red light. One of them raised a hand, and the estate's gate groaned open without authorization. Override signal, Benson said. They've got your ancestral code. Riker's expression darkened. That code was supposed to be locked for generations. Suppose someone forgot to take into account spies who sleep with nobles, sir. Lyra didn't rise to the bait. I never touched your bloodlines. Riker drew his sword. Good. Then I won't have to bleed you for it. Outside, the 3 mercenaries moved with eerie precision, ignoring the defensive warnings blinking across the grass. They weren't bluffing. This wasn't recon. It was retrieval. I'll stall them, Riker said, stepping toward the front door. Benson handed him a calm bead. Shall I prep the wine cellar? Trapdoor option only. No vintage loss. Lyra grabbed his wrist. If they get close to me, if they touch me, I can be reactivated. Riker paused. What does that mean? I'll stop being me. That was all the warning he needed. Benson. New rule. Anyone tries to take her, I mulch them, sir. Preferably into flowerbed material. Riker opened the door. The mercenaries waited 10 steps away, rain pelting off their armor. One of them stepped forward. Riker Vance, it said, voice filtered through synth. You have something that doesn't belong to you. Riker lifted his blade. So do you. My patience. The standoff had begun. The lead mercenary didn't flinch. It stepped forward, ignoring the defensive runes etched into the walkway, ancient, glowing faintly beneath the wet stone. Its companions fanned out, one to the left, one to the right, forming a triangle. We're authorized to retrieve the asset, the leader said. Surrender her, and you may live. Riker stepped out into the rain, sword gleaming like liquid starlight in his hand. You know, I've never been much for ultimatums. You don't have a choice. See, that's the thing, Riker said, raising the blade. People keep thinking I don't. But I always do. Without warning, he struck. The blade flashed silver in the stormlight, cutting through the air with a hiss. The lead mercenary parried with a forearm shield, sparks flying. The other 2 moved fast, one raising a plasma caster, the other leaping toward the entry arch. Before the shot could fire, Benson struck from the shadows, his shotgun roaring once, then again. The second merc crumpled, circuits sparking through shredded armor. Riker danced with the leader, blade humming against reinforced plating. The rain blurred everything into motion, breath, heat, steel. The third mercenary bypassed them both and sprinted for the front entrance. Lyra stepped into the doorway, eyes glowing with purple light, palms raised. Don't, she warned, voice layered with something beneath it. A harmonic vibration like a song you only hear if your blood's old enough. The merc ignored her. She whispered a single word in a language Riker didn't recognize, and the air around her rippled. The approaching attacker seized up mid-stride, body contorting as if gravity itself had betrayed it. He collapsed in a heap of twitching limbs, steam rising from his visor. Benson stepped beside her. "You've got tricks," he said, impressed. "They built me with fail-safes," she whispered. "But I kept a few of my own." Riker knocked the last mercenary to the ground and leveled his sword at the exposed throat. "Who sent you?" he demanded. The voice buzzed through broken speakers. "Doesn't matter. More are coming." Riker pressed the blade closer. "Why her?" "Because she's the key. And you're the door." Then the merc laughed, a choking, broken sound, and died with sparks crawling out of his mouth. Lyra stepped forward, her face pale under the rain. "We need to talk." "You think?" Riker growled. "No," she said softly. "I mean it. The seal isn't under your house." She looked at him with wide, ocean-bright eyes. "It's inside you." "Inside me?" he echoed. Lyra nodded, her wet hair clinging to her cheeks. "The artifact, the seal, it's not an object, not entirely. It's a system, a design. A sequence encoded in gene layers. Passed down through generations of the founder bloodlines." Riker backed away from the corpse. "That's impossible. The seal is in the vault. My father showed me." "He showed you a replica," she said, stepping closer. "A distraction? The real seal has always been alive, passed from blood to blood, waiting for the right vessel." "You're saying I'm, what? A walking weapon?" Lyra winced. "Not a weapon. A conductor. The seal's power is inert without intention. But if awakened, it can do what no empire, no fleet, no god can do, bend the laws of existence." Riker stared at her. "And you're here to wake it up?" She hesitated. "I was sent to influence you. To guide you to activation. But I didn't expect." "You didn't expect to care," Riker said bitterly. Lyra looked away. "No." A crackle of static cut through the rain. Benson's comlink buzzed. "Sir, we've got aerial inbound. Fast. 6 dropships, consortium tags, full combat loadouts." "Perfect," Riker muttered. "Everyone wants a piece." He turned to Lyra, his voice low and sharp. "So tell me what happens when the seal activates. What does it do?" She met his eyes. "It connects everyone. Every mind. Every thought. Empathy without barriers. Fear without hiding. Truth without lies. That sounds like the end of free will. It's the beginning of understanding. But only if you use it gently. If you activate it in anger." She let the words trail off. "I could burn the world again," Riker finished for her. Lyra nodded. "Like your ancestor did during the burn." Riker stepped back into the manor. "Then we don't let them force me." "Where are we going?" she asked. He glanced toward the basement staircase. The old spiral path his father once swore never to open. "Down," Riker said. "Where the ghosts sleep." The stairs to the basement groaned beneath Riker's boots. The stone was cold, ancient, older than the estate above. Carved into the walls were runes so deep they pulsed with residual energy, like the house still remembered the hands that had shaped it. Lyra followed close behind, ears twitching with every echo. Her voice came low, cautious. "This place is alive." "It should be," Riker muttered. "It's been feeding off my family for 600 years. At the bottom, Benson stood beside a biometric panel sealed into solid obsidian. Dust covered the frame, but the silver handprint sensor still blinked, waiting. "You never opened it?" Lyra asked. Riker hesitated. "No. My father said we only open it when we're ready to choose extinction." He pressed his hand to the panel. The stone trembled. A deep hum echoed through the chamber, as if the house inhaled after centuries of holding its breath. With a thunderous grind, the vault door retracted, revealing a tunnel of lightless crystal and layered force fields. Lyra sucked in a breath. "This isn't just a vault. It's a cradle. They walked forward slowly, their reflections stretching and warping in the shimmering walls. At the far end, suspended in a gravity well, floated what looked like a heart made of fractal glass, crystalline branches pulsing with faint color, rotating on invisible currents. Riker felt it before he saw it. A pull deep inside his chest. Like gravity shifted toward him. This is it, he said. The core interface. Lyra confirmed. The seal's first consciousness node. It's resonating with you. It feels like it knows me. It does. It was designed to. Benson adjusted his coat. Begging your pardon, sir, but incoming guests just disembarked onto the upper lawn. They're not consortium anymore. Hybrid armor. Looks saffron. Great, Riker said. Now everyone wants a piece of my DNA. Lyra placed a hand on his chest, over his heart. If they get you into one of their control fields, they can force a partial activation. Riker stepped away from the node. Then I guess we make our stand here. Lyra turned to him. You'll die. Probably. But the seal was never meant to be used out of fear. Lyra stared at him. You really would die for people who see you as a weapon? No, Riker said quietly. I die to make sure they never use me as one. Above them, the manor shook. The war had come home. The walls of Vance Hold trembled as railgun shells pounded the estate above. Dust sifted from the vaulted ceiling. Somewhere overhead, Benson's voice echoed calmly over the intercom. Sir, our guests have begun redecorating with explosives. Permission to repaint the front yard in charred mercenary? Granted, Riker said. And play something classical. Give them culture. Lyra stood by the seal's core, her fur bristling, eyes wide. They're using hybrid units. Organic tech infiltrators. We can't fight those with nostalgia and sarcasm. Riker checked the monitors embedded in the vault wall. Multiple heat signatures. One team had breached the west wing, bypassed 3 security traps, and was heading straight for the lower levels. They're tracking you, Lyra said. No, Riker replied. They're tracking the seal. Suddenly the floor vibrated with concussive rhythm, breaching drills on the upper sublevels. From the far end of the vault, automated turrets emerged from hidden alcoves, targeting the stairwell. Benson's voice crackled in again, sharper now. They've cut power to the external generators. Switching to fusion core backup. I'll hold the stairwell, but if they've brought psionics, we'll improvise, Riker muttered. Then the lights flickered. Lyra's voice turned ice cold. They're deploying a suppression field. I can feel it bleeding through the walls. If it touches me, I won't be able to resist. Riker grabbed her hand. Then stay behind me. The moment stretched. She looked down at their clasped fingers. You're not what I expected, Riker Vance. He met her gaze. Neither are you, Lyra. You were supposed to be a trap. But you're the reason I haven't activated the seal out of rage. The air shivered. From the far wall, a mechanical voice boomed. Riker Vance. By order of the Galactic Triad and the Saffron Initiative, you are to surrender your biological key. This is your only warning, Lyra whispered. They don't know what they're asking for. They never do, Riker said, tightening his grip on his sword. Time to teach them. The vault door exploded inward. Smoke poured through the breach. And War stepped inside. The first figure through the smoke wore exoarmor plated in obsidian and cobalt, a saffron hybrid lieutenant. It moved like liquid steel, a predator of both flesh and machine. Behind it, 6 others fanned out in tight formation, weapons raised, visors blank. Riker didn't wait. He lunged, sword drawn, catching the lead soldier in the throat joint before the field fully stabilized. Sparks burst. The hybrid crumpled backward, twitching in defeat. The others opened fire. The vault lit up with plasma. Lyra dove behind the seal's containment ring, tail flashing violet as she rolled and hurled a pulse grenade toward the flank. It detonated with a fizz of harmonic distortion, short-circuiting 2 attackers in mid-stride. Status? Benson's voice cut through the din. We're busy, Riker snapped, ducking as a bolt seared past his cheek. Understood. I've sealed all outer exits. Unfortunately, that means no pizza delivery until further notice. Lyra's laughter came sharp and wild from behind cover. Is he always like this? Riker parried a blade strike with a grunt. Only when someone's trying to kill us. The remaining invaders pressed inward, forcing Riker and Lyra to the core's edge. The seal pulsed brighter now, responding to Riker's proximity, tendrils of fractal light reaching toward him like a flower to sun. Don't touch it, Lyra warned, breathless. Not yet. You're bleeding. Riker looked down. A long burn tracked up his ribs. The armor hadn't caught it all. His vision fuzzed at the edges. The enemy commander stepped forward, helmet splitting open to reveal a pale saffron face, smooth-skinned, violet-eyed, marked with neural implants. You are the last of your line, the commander said, voice as smooth as silk over stone. Give us the seal. End this. Riker straightened, blood dripping from his fingertips. You don't get to end anything here. The commander smiled. You misunderstand. You're not the only key. He raised a palm. Lyra stiffened. And screamed. She dropped to her knees, clutching her head as invisible code flooded her body. Her eyes flashed white-blue, her breathing erratic. No! Riker reached for her, but she was shaking violently now, body caught between compulsion and instinct. They've activated the override, she gasped. They're trying to use me to control you. Through the bond. Riker stepped between her and the commander, sword raised, eyes burning. You want a weapon? He growled. The seal behind him began to glow like a rising star. Fine. Let me show you what happens when the Vance bloodline stops holding back. The seal surged behind Riker, its energy intensifying like a sun being born in the dark. Light coiled through the vault in branching waves, not heat, not radiation, but something deeper. Something alive. The soldiers flinched, instincts screaming even through synthetic dampeners. Lyra trembled behind him, curled like a collapsing signal tower. Her voice came raw. They're inside me, using my original protocol, trying to chain the seal through me. No one chains us, Riker whispered. He turned to face the seal fully. The crystalline structure recognized him. A single thread of golden light extended from its center, hovering, pulsing, waiting. Not coercion. Invitation. The vault dimmed. Reality bent. Benson's voice crackled in. Sir, respectfully, if you plan on vaporizing the invaders, please give me 5 seconds to relocate my wine collection. Riker ignored him. His hand reached forward. The moment his palm touched the seal, the world exploded. Not outward, inward. Suddenly he wasn't in the vault. He was standing in a vast, starless sky, the seal floating before him like a god's eye. Around him shimmered fragments of memory, not just his, but generations of Vance blood. Their fears. Their choices. Their sins. He saw the burn. He saw the moment his great-great-grandfather activated the seal in desperation, intending only to stop an invasion, and instead unraveling an entire hemisphere. Billions of lives erased in one instant of unchecked fury. The seal had memory. And judgment. What do you want from me? Riker asked aloud. The seal's voice was not a voice. It was resonance, deep as gravity, soft as grief. Intention. He saw Lyra, alone in a pod, designed by monsters and still trying to choose kindness. He saw Benson, loyal even after everyone else fell away. He saw the soldiers, scared children behind masks of steel. He saw himself. I don't want power, he said. That is why you are worthy. And then he was back. The vault thundered with sound and light. The seal floated above the platform now, its limbs stretching in impossible angles. Riker stood, eyes glowing with a pale gold fire. The soldiers hesitated. Riker raised one hand. And the weapons in the room melted, not burned, not shattered, but disassembled on a molecular level into light. No more, Riker said. No more control. No more chains. The saffron commander stepped back, eyes wide. What are you? He whispered. I'm the last secret you should have left buried. Riker turned to Lyra. Her eyes fluttered open, no longer white-blue, but bright violet again. The connection was broken. He knelt beside her. You came back, she said, voice shaking. I wasn't finished, he replied. The seal pulsed gently overhead. And for the first time since the burn, it was awake and listening. The seal hung above them like a slow-turning star, its crystal branches now unfurling through the chamber in graceful arcs. The air smelled like ozone and memory. Dust floated upward instead of down. The Saffron commander stumbled back as his remaining troops dropped to one knee, their weapons useless. One tried to speak, then clutched his head and collapsed. Another screamed something in a dialect Riker didn't recognize, but the tone was clear: fear. The seal's broadcasting, Lyra whispered, pulling herself upright. It's sending out raw empathy across their neural implants. They're not just seeing what we feel, they're living it. Riker stood, eyes still faintly glowing gold. It's showing them everything they've refused to understand. The commander shook his head like a man waking from a fever dream. This isn't possible. It was supposed to be a weapon. Something we could aim. It is a weapon, Riker said. Just not for your kind of war. He turned to Lyra, who was steadying herself against a support column. Her tail flicked once, eyes sharp. It'll spread farther now. Every connected mind, military networks, diplomatic bands, even civilian net threads. The whole galaxy is going to feel what we feel. Benson's voice pinged through the intercom, tense for once. Sir, I'm receiving unusual readings. System-wide broadcast frequencies, recalibrating psychic relays, oh good heavens. The entire Vesper array is echoing the signal. The seal's in the web now, Lyra said softly. It's becoming part of the neural lattice. This wasn't just a wake-up switch. It was a convergence event. Riker turned to her. Tell me straight. Can it be stopped? She shook her head. Not anymore. The only question is what people will do with it. Outside, Riker could hear ships in the sky. Many. Too many. Drop pods slammed into the earth with the dull thump of distant drums. Consortium, Triad, Saffron, even ships bearing independent pirate crests. Everyone's here, Riker said. Then it's starting, Lyra whispered. What is? She looked up at the glowing seal. The final auction. He frowned. What? They don't just want to kill us anymore, Riker. Now they want to buy us. The sky above Vance Hold was no longer stormdark, it was shipdark. Dozens of vessels, sleek and jagged, hovered in silent formation. Consortium battlecruisers. Saffron shadow ships. Independent dreadnoughts. Pirate skiffs pretending to be diplomatic barges. All of them loomed like vultures orbiting a dying world. Riker stood at the edge of the manor's ruined balcony, looking up. They don't even pretend anymore, he said. They don't have to, Lyra replied beside him. She had changed into one of the estate's old field jackets, sleeves rolled, damp fur still clinging to her frame. You woke something bigger than any treaty. Behind them, Benson cleared his throat. We've received 12 separate transmissions in the last 20 minutes, sir. All offering protection in exchange for access to the artifact's guidance. He made a face. One offer was phrased as a generous long-term partnership of mutual strategic parasitism. Charming, Riker muttered. Tell them to come in person if they want to talk. I already have, sir. They're forming a landing queue. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You're letting them land? Riker nodded. Let them come. Let them look me in the eye when they say what they want. He turned, starting down the cracked stairs into the main hall. Besides, they're not the ones I'm afraid of. Lyra followed. Then who are you afraid of? Myself. She stopped short. You think you'll lose control? No, he said without looking back. I think I'll want to. A hush fell over the manor as the first dignitary arrived, a Triad ambassador named Mylan Ka, draped in living silk that rippled with neural emotions. She bowed once, eyes calculating. Behind her came Zarek Tharn, warlord turned strategic advisor, to the independent Outer Rim. Then Dr. Voris, consortium xenopsychologist. Then 3 more, each with their own agendas. Each pretending this was a negotiation. They gathered in the great hall like predators circling a wounded beast. Riker stood at the head of the long, broken dining table. "You all came for the same thing," he said. "But you can't have it." Ambassador Ka folded her hands. "Then what are we doing here, Mr. Vance?" Riker's gaze swept over them. "You're going to listen." He slammed his hand onto the table. And the seal responded. Light rippled through the stone walls. For a brief moment, every person in the room blinked, then gasped, as the seal pushed its resonance through them. And they saw it. Not power. Not conquest. But each other. For the first time. And it terrified them. The room shuddered as the seal's pulse threaded through them, not a violent wave, but something worse, honesty. Ambassador Ka's breath caught. Her body went rigid, her skin flashing blue with emotional feedback from her neural silks. "What is this?" "Perspective," Riker said calmly. Zarek Tharn stumbled backward, his many augmentations shorting as he clutched his head. "This is a trick. Mind poison. Some kind of psycho scrambler." "No," Lyra said. She stepped beside Riker, her voice clear, resolute. "It's clarity. It's what happens when your armor doesn't protect you from your own conscience." Dr. Voris knelt beside a chair, trembling. "I saw my brother. The one I sacrificed for my promotion. I heard him, screaming." Riker leaned forward, hands on the table. "The seal doesn't judge. It just reveals. You came here to control it, to weaponize it. But now you know, its real power is in the truth you've spent your lives hiding from." Ka gritted her teeth. "You could bring every empire to its knees with this." "I don't want to bring them to their knees," Riker said. "I want them to finally look each other in the eye." Zarek slammed a metal fist on the table, cracking the wood. "You can't force understanding. Peace doesn't come from shared trauma." "Maybe not," Riker said. "But it's a start." The seal pulsed again, brighter now, hungrier. Ka's silks turned gray, neutral, her voice quiet. "How far will this spread?" Lyra answered. "It already has. Everyone in this room is now tethered. The longer you're near it, the stronger the imprint becomes. Eventually, even across systems, you'll feel the echo." "So we're all linked now?" Voris whispered. Riker shook his head. "No. You're all infected with empathy." Ka turned slowly toward him. "What are you going to do with us?" He met her gaze. "I'm going to let you decide." The room fell silent. Outside, the sky pulsed again, a visible shimmer of color moving across the clouds, like a tide in reverse. Ships in orbit began to shift position, reacting to something they couldn't explain. Fear. Guilt. Wonder. The seal's broadcast was no longer contained. And across the galaxy, the age of secrets was dying. They began to leave at dusk. Not in anger. Not in defeat. But in a stunned, haunted silence that clung to their shoulders like ash. Zarek Tharn was the first to go, no threats, no posturing. Just a long look at Riker and a muttered, "You'll regret giving them choice." Then he boarded his gunship and vanished into the sky. Ambassador Ka lingered at the manor door, her eyes still swirling with color. "Do you know what you've done?" Riker stood in the doorway, the seal glowing faintly behind him. "Yeah. I broke the game." She offered the ghost of a smile. "Good." Then she, too, disappeared into the clouds. By midnight, the landing queue was empty. The skies above Vance Hold were quiet for the first time in days. No warships, no drop pods. Just stars. And still, Riker didn't sleep. He stood alone in the ruined library, watching the fire crackle beneath the portrait of his father. He barely noticed when Lyra entered. She didn't speak. Just sat beside him, her tail curling over the worn rug like a question mark. "Did I make it worse?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Worse for who?" For everyone. No, she said softly. You made it honest. They sat in silence. Somewhere, a broken window let in the scent of mountain wind and soil. The kind of smell you remember from childhood but never talk about. Raylan told me something, Lyra said eventually. Before he died. Riker turned toward her. He said the seal would only awaken for someone who wasn't hungry for it. That it needed a heart full of burden, not ambition. Riker looked down at his hands, still faintly glowing. Lucky me. No, she said. Lucky us. A soft chime echoed from Benson's console in the next room. Then his voice rang out. Sir? Incoming transmission. Origin unknown. Encryption uncrackable. Tone deeply ominous. Riker rose to his feet. Patch it through. The hearth faded. The walls darkened. And a holographic sigil pulsed into existence above the fire, one Riker had only seen once, buried deep in the Vance archives. It belonged to the Council of Reach, the ones even the Consortium feared. The ones who once tried to erase the seal from history. A voice followed. Male. Calm. Cold. Riker Vance. You've done the unthinkable. You've opened the door. Now we're coming to see what you let out. Lyra's ears flattened. Council of Reach. I thought they were extinct. Riker's jaw tightened. No. Just waiting. And the seal pulsed once more, as if it, too, remembered. The sigil hung in the air like a threat written in light, stark, geometric, wrong. Every angle was sharp enough to cut thought itself. The Council of Reach had not just returned. They had been watching. Riker stood frozen, the embers of the fireplace flickering against his skin. Lyra stepped beside him, her hand brushing his. Who are they really? She asked. He didn't answer at first. Then, they're the ones who made the rules before the Consortium. Before the Triad. They created the first seals. They built the original mine walls. And then they tried to erase them, when they realized what empathy could do to power. The voice returned. You've destabilized a 100-year order, Riker Vance. Do you understand what that means? Yes, Riker said. It means the old order was too fragile to survive truth. You think you're righteous? I think I'm tired. Then let us relieve you of your burden. The sigil vanished. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the estate trembled, not with impact, but something deeper. Like gravity was holding its breath. Lyra's tail lashed once, her breath quickening. What was that? She whispered. Riker moved to the window. The stars were gone. Not blotted. Not clouded. Missing. An entire quadrant of the night sky was just black. No constellations. No drift trails. Just void. Then light flared along the edge, not from ships, but a structure. Massive. Curving across space like a ring of teeth. The Reach, Riker said, voice low. They've brought the door. Lyra's fur lifted at her nape. That's not a ship. No, Riker agreed. It's a gate. A gate to what? He turned to her, the golden glow in his eyes now pulsing. To the first network. The place where the original seals were forged. Where empathy wasn't shared, it was commanded. Her eyes widened. They want to overwrite the seal's new signature. Replace it with their own code. Riker nodded. Wipe out free feeling. Install obedience. Benson appeared in the doorway, holding a rifle and a tray of tea. Sir, forgive the timing. But it appears diplomacy is off the table. Riker took the mug, sipped once. I never liked that table anyway. He turned back to Lyra. They're going to try to close the door on us. But maybe we close it first. And what's on the other side? Riker looked skyward. Whatever they were afraid of. The gate loomed above the world like a noose carved from starlight. Vast beyond comprehension, its arch limbs flexed as if stretching after centuries of sleep. Riker watched as the sky rippled, stars blinking in and out around the event horizon. It wasn't just opening a way, it was rewriting what counted as space. And it was pointed at him. They've initialized a neural funnel, Lyra said, standing beside the holodeble in the manor's war room. Her claws hovered over shifting maps of the orbital field. They're going to try and inject a command route through the seal's psychic tether. Remote override, Riker muttered. Classic reach. Classic tyranny, Benson added. Permission to introduce them to Texan etiquette with plasma accompaniment? Riker nodded. Stand by. He turned to Lyra. Can we get to the gate before they complete it? She frowned, calculating. Yes. But it won't matter if they finish coding the route. Once it's embedded, even the seal can't fight it. Then we don't just go to the gate, Riker said, jaw tightening. We go in. Lyra's ears twitched. You want to breach it? Not just breach it, he said. We end it. Whatever's behind that door, whatever made the Reach afraid, maybe it's time someone else looked. She stared at him. That could trigger a system-wide collapse. A psychic echo on that scale could burn every neural relay in the galaxy. Only if I go alone. Her voice sharpened. And you're planning to? He met her eyes. I've already linked with the seal. If I'm compromised. She stepped forward and shoved him. Don't you dare. Don't you. Her voice cracked. Don't make this noble. I'm not being noble, he said, quiet now. I'm being responsible. Lyra grabbed his coat and pulled him close. I wasn't made for love, Riker. But I chose it. I chose you. And I chose all of them. He whispered. That's the point. She kissed him hard, not tender but fierce. A vow forged in heat and fury. Then Benson coughed. Pardon, but we have 10 minutes before the Reach finalize their tether. If we're going, may I suggest we go now? Riker turned to him, then to Lyra. Fire up the shuttle, he said. We're going to break into the most forbidden structure in the universe. Lyra muttered. Riker smirked. Just another Tuesday. The shuttle ripped through the upper atmosphere like a blade through silk. Lightning slithered across its hull, drawn to the strange gravitational pull of the gate above. From the cockpit, Riker watched the ring grow in the viewport, bigger than cities, older than memory. A structure so massive it bent sensor data, bent time, even bent language. Systems flickered when they tried to define it. No one had ever entered the gate and returned. But then again, no one had ever awakened the seal. Lyra sat beside him, eyes fixed on the readouts, tail twitching with tension. Her voice was low. The neural funnel's stabilizing. They'd begun transmitting the overwrite command. How long do we have? 4 minutes, maybe less. If they finish the pulse, every mind linked to the seal will get rewritten. The empathy network becomes a loyalty grid. Instant control. Riker glanced over. Including you? Lyra hesitated. I don't know. If they reawaken my buried protocols, I might not even remember who I am. He reached over and took her hand. I'll remember for both of us. She didn't speak. She just held tighter. The shuttle broke through the final approach corridor and skimmed past the defensive screen of Reach drones, massive constructs built like myth and madness. They didn't fire. They simply watched. As if they knew Riker would come. Benson's voice crackled over comms from the manor. Sir, enemy fleets are on standby. They're watching you enter the gate. None of them dare follow. Figures, Riker muttered. They want to see if I blow up first. Would be dramatic, Benson noted. Shall I prepare the eulogy? Keep it short. Of course. He was absurdly difficult. He died anyway. We kept the butler. Riker grinned. Lyra didn't. They pierced the inner membrane of the gate, a shimmering veil of cascading memory. Light and sound. Alarms screamed. Gravity reversed for a breath. Time jittered. Then the shuttle fell into stillness. They had arrived. Beyond the veil was a chamber so vast, it seemed impossible. Stars drifted across the interior sky like sparks from a forge. At its center hovered a structure, the core. The place where the first seal had been made. Lyra gasped. This isn't just a gate. It's a forge world. They didn't build it to travel. They built it to change things. Riker stood, stepping toward the open ramp. Then let's go change something. The core pulsed like a slumbering god, suspended by filaments of ancient tech and pure gravitational will. It looked like no human structure Riker had ever seen, more sculpture than machine, with impossible geometry folding in on itself like a flower blooming in reverse. He and Lyra stepped onto the bridge that extended from their shuttle to the platform. Every footstep echoed, though there were no walls. Just stars. Where's the control console? Riker asked. Lyra squinted ahead. There is no console. There's a conduit. She pointed toward a pulsing obelisk at the heart of the platform, an obsidian monolith suspended above a spiral of light. It's a mind bridge, she said. Direct neural interface. No wires, no suits. You walk in, and you decide. Decide what? Riker asked. Lyra looked at him. Whether the empathy network becomes permanent. Riker's breath caught. You mean? This is where they built the original seal. The first connection. The compassion weapon they later tried to erase. She turned to him. But it wasn't a weapon. It was a test. A choice. He stepped closer, staring into the spiral of light beneath the obelisk. Inside it, he could see flickers, not images, not memories. Moments. Billions of them. Mothers choosing not to strike. Soldiers choosing to listen. Entire histories rewritten in whispers. It's not just a command interface, Riker murmured. It's an empathy engine. Lyra nodded. Reach tried to use it for control. Your ancestors used it for survival. But now, it's yours. Riker's chest tightened. What happens if I reject it? She was quiet a moment. Then, the seal fades. The network collapses. Every shared mind goes dark again. The old powers come back. The war starts over. And if I accept? Then you live every moment of every sentient being in the galaxy for the rest of your life. Riker looked at her. And suddenly, she looked scared. I don't want to lose you in it, she whispered. He touched her cheek. You won't. Then, without hesitation, he stepped into the light. The moment Riker entered the spiral of light, reality dissolved. No pain. No heat. Just unraveling. His body fell away, his memories atomized. What remained was awareness, not of himself, but of others. All others. He became the girl on a desert world who gave her last ration to a dying enemy. The farmer on a fractured moon who buried his attacker after the siege. The admiral who hesitated 1 second too long and spared a planet. Then deeper. He became the ones who didn't choose mercy. The pirate who watched his crew burn. The engineer who silenced protesters with riot gas and told himself it was peacekeeping. The spy who turned his lover into a signal relay and never confessed. Riker didn't just feel what they felt. He understood why they felt it. The fear. The hope. The conditioning. The small, desperate voices inside each one trying to survive their world. There were billions. Then trillions. Their thoughts passed through him like currents, wild and impossible and beautiful. For a moment it was too much. He began to scream. But he had no mouth. Then someone, held him. Lyra. She wasn't inside the engine, not physically. But the bond between them had followed him in. A silver tether of emotion cutting through the storm. Her presence whispered through the chaos. Come back. You're not just them. You're still you. That thread, her warmth, her fear, her stubbornness, anchored him. He reached out, not with hands, but with decision. And the core responded. Intent registered. User, Riker Vance. Empathic fusion. Stabilized. Network choice, accepted. Parameters, voluntary. System echo initializing. He returned. Fell back into his body like an avalanche. Gasped. Staggered. Lyra caught him, arms around his shoulders. Did it work? She whispered, shaking. He looked at her, eyes glowing brighter than before. It's done. he said. Above them, the core let out a pulse that passed through the stars like a heartbeat. And across the galaxy, every sentient being paused and felt someone else's soul. The light faded from the gate core, leaving behind silence as deep as gravity. Riker stood motionless at the platform's edge, his breath returning in ragged bursts. The glow in his eyes dimmed, settling into a steady ember. Lyra hadn't let go. "You're still you," she whispered, searching his face. Riker smiled faintly. "Mostly. Maybe more." Above them, the gate's interior began to shift, its latticework responding to his choice. Panels folded inward like petals in retreat. The vast arms of the gate dimmed as the neural funnel collapsed. The override signal had failed. The Council's grip was broken. Across the galaxy, ripple effects began. Ships that once aimed at each other lowered their weapons. Diplomats wept on live feeds they didn't know were still broadcasting. Children born into empires of conquest stopped feeling alone in the dark. But not everyone celebrated. Benson's voice crackled in over the comlink. "Sir, we have incoming objections. 2 Reach cruisers are breaking formation. Full power signatures. Their weapons remain hot." Lyra looked to the stars beyond the gate wall. "They're going to wipe the core. Burn it clean. If they can't have control, they'll destroy the possibility." Riker exhaled. "Of course they will." He turned toward the center of the platform and touched the seal node embedded in the core's interface. It pulsed once, and something new activated. A vault door opened below the platform, revealing a chamber they hadn't seen before. Inside it floated something ancient. A sphere of deep violet crystal, cracked and humming with dormant power. "What is that?" Lyra asked, stepping forward slowly. Riker answered like he already knew. "The failsafe." He turned to her. "When the original founders built the empathy network, they encoded a final contingency. A beacon. One that couldn't be used unless someone awakened the seal willingly." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "What does it do?" Riker lifted the sphere from its cradle. "It doesn't destroy their ships. It shows the Reach what they made this place to hide." "Truth?" she guessed. "No." He turned back to the edge of the platform and raised the sphere high. "The part of themselves they tried to forget." The sphere floated above Riker's palm, humming with the weight of things no one wanted to remember. Far above, the Reach cruisers locked weapons. Twin lances of plasma spun to life, their impact coordinates triangulated on the gate core. They were done negotiating. Lyra stepped beside Riker, squinting into the black. "They're charging primary beams. 12 seconds. Then it's now," he whispered. He pressed his palm to the sphere. It cracked. Not with sound, with light. The memory bomb exploded across dimensions of thought and time, bypassing hulls, signal dampeners, and armor plating. It hit the Reach crews not as a weapon, but as them. Their own forgotten past. Commanders relived the screams of civilians they deemed acceptable losses. Pilots remembered the orders they'd obeyed too quickly. Engineers saw children's faces they'd stepped over during population resets. And deeper than all of it, they felt the fear. The original fear. The reason they'd built the seal in the first place, not to conquer, but to survive extinction through empathy. They had erased that part of themselves. The bomb gave it back. The first cruiser halted mid-charge, nose tilting downward. A whisper of hesitation rippled through its command ranks. Then it powered down completely. The second one tried to hold on. Fired once. The beam scorched past the gate core, missing by design. Then its lights dimmed, and its weapons shut off. No explosion. No final threat. Just surrender. Riker dropped the cracked sphere to the platform. It rolled once, then still, dark and spent. Lyra didn't speak. She just leaned against him, tail looping lightly around his boot. "What now?" she asked softly. He looked at the violet sky overhead. The stars were coming back. Slowly. As if the galaxy itself was exhaling. "Now we go home." The gate closed behind them without a sound. One moment, Riker and Lyra stood on a platform carved by ancient minds in a place beyond space. The next, they were back in the Vance Hold courtyard, where it had all started. The manor still bore its scars. Blasted columns, cracked windows, scorched marks from old arguments. But the grass had begun growing again in the crater. The roses were even starting to bloom. Benson met them at the garden's edge, still dressed in his smoking jacket, holding a tray with tea and 2 pieces of warm apple bread. "Welcome home," he said. "No one's tried to assassinate you in 6 hours. I consider that a record." Riker took the mug. Lyra took the bread. Neither said anything at first. Then Lyra turned slowly, looking at the valley below. Birds skimmed the treetops. Wind stirred the leaves. Somewhere in the distance, the town's old rail bell rang like a memory that had finally returned. "It feels different," she said. "It is," Riker answered. "The network?" "Still there," he nodded. "But quiet now. Passive. No compulsion. Just potential. A soft presence between hearts instead of minds." "And the Reach?" He smirked. "I think they're busy feeling bad for the first time in centuries. Should keep them out of trouble for a while." Lyra laughed, a real, tired, beautiful sound. Then she stepped in close and leaned her head against his shoulder. "I'm not going anywhere, you know." "I know." Benson cleared his throat. "Should I set up the diplomatic terrace again, or shall I convert it to a greenhouse?" Riker looked at Lyra. She shrugged. "We could use more roses." "Greenhouse it is," Benson said, already walking off with practiced grace. "And I'll make space for a nursery while I'm at it." Lyra froze. "Wait, what?" Riker just smiled. They sat together on the old stone steps, watching the last of the broken clouds drift away, revealing a galaxy that had, somehow, impossibly, become a little more human. A little more honest. A little more home. And the seal, somewhere deep beneath them, pulsed once. Not as a weapon. Not as a signal. But as a heartbeat.